So, Mr. Hall,
Marcus
here we are,
Carteris.
our Tuesday live session. Now, before we get into the session, I've got to ask, how are you feeling? Because you've got your ankle injury, and I know you've been having problem with painkillers and the likes. How are you feeling, sir?
So I was in a steady flow since our last call. I just kept on popping them through so I could ignore the pain, but I've backed off for the last 24 hours so I can partake of a cheeky wee nip over the phone call to keep with the tradition of Tuesday nights.
Tuesday night Hawkman session.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here. And on that note, so I'm going to just kick in and set up. Hi, everybody. Again, thanks for joining us on our Tuesday. As you know, or you may not know, our Sunday sessions are a little bit raw, kind of pajama party. We download the week and plant the seed for ideas. Our Tuesday sessions are a little bit more polished and structured, and we've got a guest coming in just a moment, actually. And we're going to bring our guest in a bit earlier than normal. Now, we'd picked up, Chris had got some feedback from people that one of the biggest pain points that people were looking for was input towards technology, and not always the way that we think, meaning that social media or digital, but more tech tools and efficiency and productivity. So we had Steve Morris join us last week. We've got another guest on that note who's going to join us today, and I'm going to introduce him. I got to say, it's Fletch, Fletcher Hazeldine, but Fletch, the name Fletch, the last time I had a guest or was drinking on a midweek night with a guy called Fletch was Fletch of Depeche Mode. I'm showing my years now. If you know the band Depeche Mode, one of the steadfast members of Depeche Mode is another Fletch. He's the last time I was having drinks midweek with a Fletch. So Fletch, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, let me just tell everybody who you are. So Fletch is actually the store manager for the Yes Optus franchise down in Warrnambool. Man of many talents. He certainly helps me out. And so we thought Fletch he's a man of efficiency as well. And so we thought having Fletch in as a guest would be great for twofold. One, to give us some insights into efficiency and productivity and making sure we're being as streamlined as fast as we can at home. But second, on some tools for tech and how we can be more productive and efficient. So Fletch, on that note, I'll hand over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I suppose Mark asked me to put together a few quick points. We've had getting his internet sorted out and stuff like that. And one thing that's happened especially with the COVID thing that's going on at the moment, and hopefully we're on the other end of it, is people are needing internet really quickly. It needs to be reliable. It needs to go on. And there's a big shift to a internet that runs over a mobile service. Doesn't matter what carrier you're with, that's the way things appear to be going because it's quick. People walk into a store, they walk into our store, and they walk out with working internet like that. The flip side to that is it means that people are having to do their own installations of whether it's just setting it up. And sometimes it's very simple, but there's a couple of things that people miss out on when it comes to doing that. So the placement of modems and things like that tend to be overlooked a little bit. They get put in spots, beside a fridge, for example. Not ideal. Big steel object right beside it. A lot of reflection for the Wi-Fi. We've run into issues with people putting them in windows in apartment blocks where they have like a mirror finish on the window, and so the metallic in the tint causes grief. So first and foremost, steer clear of metal. That simple, and consider those things very important. The other thing is, ideally when someone puts something like this into their house, they'll put it in the middle of the house and they get for Wi-Fi coverage. Makes logical sense, and that's what I'd suggest to do at the same time. But if it doesn't work real well, maybe look at trying to shift it somewhere that's got better network coverage. As time's going on, we're shifting to 5G, so higher frequency, which doesn't have as good of a penetration as 4G. And what I mean by that is you're trying to pump the signal through something thick and solid. 5G, because it's such a high frequency, it reflects. 4G typically is a lot stronger to be able to punch through objects. As a result, it means that you need to take those things into consideration. It's only basic stuff. It's just, as I said, not putting it beside big steel objects. Double brick walls, put it in a window, things like that. So it's simple things like that. The other side is...
With the majority of sort of new installs that are initiated either online or through the store, is it mostly user setup, or have you got a technician coming out
No. In a lot of cases, yeah, their user setup is pretty standard practice. In the world of NBN, there's a technician coming out to connect, do the cutover as such, and they might be putting a bit of equipment in your wall. But even still, 9 times out of 10, wipe your hands of it. That's their job done, and it's still up to the customer unless they've selected a professional install option. It's up to the customer. And with these products, because people are wanting internet now, they're walking out with the hope to set that up. So, so that's where it needs to be, just considered.
How much of because obviously people have got so many demands now, and I know me personally, it's at any given moment I can be, my son will be streaming on Twitch, my daughter will be on TikTok, my wife will be doing Netflix, and I'm sitting on a video conference. So demands are a lot higher now for the standard internet connection. I mean, how much awareness of sort of, consumer side is there on that? And are they bringing their requirements of what they need for internet?
Are they bringing their, look, when they come into the store, we part of it's, it comes down to having the right salesperson and them asking the right questions. What are you going to use it for? There gets to a stage where you can only do what you can do. And if the network's in the area that someone's in's maybe a bit congested or something like that, then you sort of got to make the call. Okay, well, if mum or dad on a business phone hookup or whatever it be, maybe ask the kids to get off the internet or something like that. Multiple internet connections. Don't just sit there and have YouTube streaming in the background for no reason. It's just being responsible for how much data that's using. But what's actually happening and what's been the big thing that people have noticed is we used to have this working from home before working from home was even a concept. We used to have this thought around download was the main thing that we were looking for, because we were wanting to stream multiple Netflix or multiple, downloading movies or updating games on PlayStations, things like that. And so it was all about the download. That's out the window now. Everyone's chasing a decent upload speed or a semi-parallel upload speed. But in Australia, that doesn't really exist as such unless you're paying $1,000 a month for an internet connection or more. Uploads become a lot more prevalent, and ping or response time, which is if you click a button, how long does it take for that information to go and then come back to you is really important, because like we're speaking now, me moving my head around or me speaking, you don't want that delay, and that's where both ping and upload come into play.
So on that note, Fletch, just a couple of things you said there. I think a skill to master here is negotiation skills from a human behavior piece, and negotiate with the family, right?
Yeah,
it's barter and negotiate to get that. But it might be obvious, but what are some couple of quick things as well, just if you can't negotiate, and what's some things to be really mindful of to make sure you're getting the maximum of your upload? So I know, for example, you helped me the other day. It's simple as don't be shy. We're so used to Wi-Fi, but don't be shy to maybe jack the cable in and connect.
Cable. I'm an old cable. That was my industry, before I got into the shop. So cable is king. Yeah, best thing you can do is plug a cable in.
So anything else? So cable's one. Any other quick ideas around that for maximizing that upload?
One thing I use, speed test gives you a bit of an indication. Doing a speed test, download the app. It's speed test by Okla, OOKLA. Download the app. It'll give you an idea as to what your speed's like. It gives you an indication too. You can test over the period of different times in the day to see if it is fluctuating. The other thing would be, modem placement's huge. Don't be too close to the modem. The laptop sitting right beside the modem on Wi-Fi is not going to work. It's probably going to work worse than sitting a couple of meters away from the modem. The thing with cable is you can turn the Wi-Fi off. So if the negotiations break down, there's a way around it. Just turn the Wi-Fi off and plug your computer in. Look, it's just a case of if the bandwidth's not there, it's not there. You got to make it work with what you've got.
Beautiful.
In the most part, the internet in Australia is, much to the arguments of some people, is pretty good. For the size we are, I think it's pretty impressive. And I'm in town in Warrnambool, but there's lots of spots in Warrnambool, even more regionally, that still have good internet. That was the other thing. Sorry, I did think of something. Keep the modem up high. So many times when I used to be a technician, the amount of times I'd walk into a customer's premises and it's down a foot off the floor. And if you imagine you had an X-ray camera and you put it in front of the put it where the modem was and had a look at a foot around your house, you're going through benches, cupboards, dishwashers, couches, fridges, the whole works. You bring it up to 4 foot off the ground, all of a sudden you're really only looking through a fridge and some walls, and that's it. So actual height of that modem. It's not about having it high to cover more space. It's literally just getting over the stuff that we typically have in a household.
Yeah. Nice. So let's move the other side of the equation. That is, you are about efficiency, right? And what would be, take it away from the network, the comm side of things.
Yep.
What's some tips and tools that you talk to there for efficiency and productivity from a business perspective? Whatever that is, what's some initial ideas you have there, or what do you find works for you?
I think the overall thing about this, to me, when it comes to whether it's working for yourself or, if it's just you within a business or with a team, you only get what you give from any of these sort of things. So whether it's a CRM or a project tracking system or anything like that, it is 100% down to how much information people put in defines how much information comes out. But the flip side is everyone's a little bit lazy and they always try and take shortcuts. And so I tend to take the approach that it needs to take the right amount of information, but everything has to be relevant. And so, I've worked with, Gym 2, for an example, is a really good example of, it's probably getting a bit long in the tooth these days, but it's a really good example of a piece of software that works extremely well for lots of different things, but it's all about the flow control. It's about when you do a quote on a particular product, and it might have had a few things. You hit one button, you say the quote's been accepted, hit another button that orders all the stuff from that company, you hit another button that creates a job, and it's no regeneration of the same. You're not putting the same information in more than once. That's, I think, the most important thing. It doesn't matter what you use. When it comes to the products, probably the most, and it's a little bit obscure, I suppose, in some ways. One of the ones I've used when it comes to CRM-based stuff was I used to use a product, not so much anymore because I'm not on the road anymore, but it was called Spotio. Don't know, have you heard of Spotio before at all? No, it's not Spotify. It's literally it's an app that's a CRM app basically, but it's sort of designed around door knocking as much as anything else. And it pinpoints everything. So you go to, I used to, around here in regional areas, I've always found that door knocking outperforms phone calls. Yeah, you're on your feet a fair bit more, but people on the phone are a lot more, are very receptive around in parts like this. And so door knocking's been, Google is listening, door knocking's been always been the better thing for me. And the beauty of it was you could literally see where you'd been. It pinpoints a pin drop type approach or a breadcrumb type approach. When it's
almost like a heat map, breadcrumb or heat map, so you know where you've been.
Exactly right. And so what you do is you'd say, I've been here, I went there this month. And so you're not to door knock that area again in however long.
This is nice having that kind of regional slang. Now, obviously, right now with social distancing, those pins are going to be quite minor. There's going to be only one or two pins. So let me ask you this question, right? What from in-store? So again, just to remind people, if you're listening, is that Fletch is in store in an Optus franchise with Ellie there down in Warrnambool. So it's it's a major business, but it's a small business in the fact it's in a regional sense. What would be the top 3 pieces of tech or app that you use for efficiency or productivity on a general day-to-day basis? What's your kind of top 3 pieces?
To be honest, it's probably in the store here, in my store, Excel. As much as it sounds bonkers, get your head around Excel, and that comes down to just being able to build something that works for us. In-house. That's get it down to being able to. So there's so much stuff you can do on Google. There's so much stuff you can find out on Google as to how, if you've got a bit of an idea. The second one would be, what else would there? I'm just sorry.
While you're thinking of that, Chris is nodding because he loves Excel. You didn't know this, but he's a big Excel fan. He's got a little sub club. He's got a sub club somewhere.
I was saying, Fletch, I think Excel is probably the most underrated piece of software. It's the most hackable tool that Microsoft has ever made. It's amazing just how far you can take it before you know what it does. Yeah.
I know. I could see Chris's subtle grin. You don't know him well enough yet, Fletch, but I could see Chris's little head nod. Hawkman was getting excited. He was just like to jump out of his shell because you're going to get a secret membership to the sub club for Excel now, Fletch. But anyway, what's the second one, my friend? So Excel. We'll come back to that in a minute. What's another one that you'd say?
Look, it's probably down to the tech's probably down to having things like iPads and stuff in the business place. Sometimes we don't have a product in front of us. It's clunky to take into a computer. Just pull an iPad out. Simple as that. It's just having that access to, and we, you know, we're in one of the industries in a retail space where it's actually okay to have your mobile phone on the floor with you. And my guy's particularly really good. So on the floor, we use things like we used to use Wunderlist. That's closed down now. It's been replaced by To-Do. To-Do, which is by Microsoft. Microsoft bought Wunderlist out, and so we've shifted to that. And basically, what that is, it's an app that we can keep a flow of what's going on for the day. If there's anything that needs to be followed up, whether it's administration based or follow-up calls for sales or whatever it is. We can put it into the one platform. Everyone can
connected. Everybody's connected on it as well.
Everyone's on it. Yeah. We can allocate tasks out to people.
So can I just say this? So again, I love how you said there, like the iPad. So even for anybody else in business, I think, you're lugging around. It's so easy to pull out, and you can have like your demos, your little pictures. You can have all the different things open in the one portal, and it's really portable. So it's really just having something portable that doesn't need to be a main beastie computer that you can literally leverage quickly to do what you need to do.
Yeah, when I was I was on the road, I literally worked off a 9.7-inch iPad Pro. Like, it wasn't even a big one because I had a 12.9. It was too heavy and it was annoying, so I got the small one. That simple, and photos of things.
There we have it then. So we have a man who's got access to probably some of the funkiest tech on the planet. And obviously, you guys have you've been helping me heaps, by the way. I've given you guys a couple of call outs, but Fletcher's hot list, right? Excel spreadsheets, shows a Mexican wave, Chris Hall on that one. Excel spreadsheet, right? Excel, portable device where you can literally zip zap, carry it around easy, no matter the size. Number 2 and 3, a to-do list, the to-do list. Nice. Three funky pieces right there.
I've got to take this opportunity, and sorry, Fletch, this is conspiracy without notice, but tell me about your insight on 5G. I mean, you're reading it.
People always ask that. One thing that always gets asked of 5G is, said of 5G, I can't wait for 5G to come out because then I'll have better coverage. Incorrect. That's the biggest thing. 5G is higher frequency. That's, as I said earlier, 5G is higher frequency, which means that it doesn't penetrate as far and doesn't go as far. So, for example, I can't give you the exact numbers, but I feel like Optus is around the 3,200 megahertz or spectrum thereabouts, so 3,200 megahertz. Our 4G for regional runs on 700. It's the old analog TV bandwidth. So if you imagine, a band as a wave, it just doesn't penetrate, doesn't go as far. You need more towers as 5G. 5G is going to be fantastic for fixed internet connections. It's going to be fantastic in metro locations where, like the cities and stuff like that. It's going to be the difference between us being able to offer, have driverless cars and things like that, because you need the latency that comes with 5G to be able to offer it. But it's going to be a game changer in that aspect. Mm-hmm. But I think people have got on the 5G buzzword, and it's got a little bit out of hand.
So it's a game changer because of what it allows all the other technology around to do and work with, not for the speed and efficiency of it itself. That's, so it's almost like coming back to your world, Chris, the better connected communities, right? You think of all the work that's going on there and more innovative communities and better connected communities, then that's really where the 5G is going to come into play.
And that was the second question I was going to ask of Fletch, because obviously we're now starting to consider what that new world looks like. And I think
trust upon it, yeah.
Yeah, but these discussions are interesting because we're kind of saying, well, what do we want to take from what we've learnt over the last 6 to 8 weeks into this new world view? So, I think a safe bet would be that there's going to be a lot more acceptance around working from home. There's going to be a lot more of this sort of hybrid meeting style where there might be a mix of sort of in-person and virtual. But in terms of that post-COVID demand on telecommunications and that retail level of product and device, I mean, are you predicting any trends there? Where do you see this post-COVID side going in the next sort of 12 months for you guys specifically?
For us specifically, one thing we've noticed is so many people don't have home internet. That become very apparent. People you would think that would have home internet, lots of teachers, for example, people that, it's the first thing I get connected. It's, I'm in the industry, but it is the first thing I get connected. There's going to be a lot more.
They've been running off their mobile network.
What was that, sorry?
So you're saying they're actually running off a mobile network rather than a home?
Yeah, they're just hotspotting their phone because they don't really use it that much. And yeah.
Wow.
That's, and as I can see, like, we live on it. But what's going to change for us? I think people are going to have to become a little bit more knowledgeable, even if, to a certain extent. And that's, I'm in a lucky industry because we're there to help, right? But to a certain extent, people are going to, out of sheer requirement, it's almost go from being I'm pretty computer illiterate to, okay, I actually need to learn now. I think that mentality is going to have to change for a lot of people. There's a lot of people that will give everything a go. Some people get themselves into trouble when they do, and I'm, to be honest, one of them. But there's been plenty of things I've pulled apart in the past and haven't worked out how to put back together. But it's going to get to the stage where people are going to have to get less scared about the concept of having to try and work something out for themselves. It's probably more than anything. No one doesn't understand, very rare that people don't understand it. If anything, they don't know how to Google the right words to get to the information they need. It's all there to a certain extent. I think that's probably going to be a big change. And that may change for us because we're not going to help people. We're not going to be helping people as much as they learn things. Hopefully don't become too redundant. But we're also going to become more important because people are going to come to us for advice. And more tailored advice around their exact situation as to what to do about things. So,
they'll give it a go themselves, and when they muck it all up, they'll come and see you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I like that. It's the bespoke for that Internet of Things, the connected home, right? The Google Home and everything getting bombarded onto talking to each other and making it work. So, now I'm mindful of time. Chris, do you have any final question you wanted to ask Fletch?
I'm just curious what drink Fletch bought, because if he's he's in with the Tuesday theme,
we have briefed Prime. Fletch, what have you got what are you joining us with?
We're with the Starwood Nova. It's made in Port Melbourne. It's an Australian single malt. It's only a couple of years old. Australian whiskies you don't need to age very often, so that's always a bit of a win.
I have actually been talking about that one. I haven't tried it. Is it any good?
It is very tasty. It smells like red wine, so I'm all good.
A whiskey that tastes like red wine. Chris Hall, what have you got tonight? What are you having tonight? We know you're a Scot man.
So I can have a wee nip. But I pulled out the Lagavulin tonight. So I got the 16-year-old single malt. Yeah, it's a little bit smoky. It's kind of a little bit arrogant and offensive for those who don't like a sort of or prefer an easy drink. Yeah, no, it's nice. Yeah.
All right. I'm back to Bundy, but I've got sarsaparilla.
Sarsaparilla.
Sarsaparilla. So, Fletch, I don't know if you know, I've not been drinking. I gave up alcohol and became vegetarian. So, when we first talked about doing this, I was going to drink. So I'm bringing soft drinks. I've got a whole list of ginger beers to try, but I thought I'd go the old dark sarsaparilla for something different. Fletch, thanks for joining us. Thanks for bringing your wisdom, mate.
Fletch.
Thanks for joining us today. Some great sound bites to do with tech, just in terms of getting your home set up and efficient, and some general productivity and efficiency there. So we really appreciate you giving your time this Tuesday evening, Fletch. Chris, what did you get from all that, other than the fact there's another secret Excel lover?
I knew there was more than one of us.
There is. What did you get from all that, Chris? What's today?
To hack the most out of it. Look, it was interesting because I guess, I mean, as you know, my background is in that sort of IoT space. So there's so much that I take for granted as to where everyone's at right now. And just even Fletch touching on that point of people not having a home network, really kind of surprises me. With so much reliance we've got now, especially with all these IoT devices. But yeah, look, I think, we were talking tools before. One I always keep handy, and I've told a few people to download it, is just Fing. It's an app that you can get on your phone, but Fing just basically allows you to ping your network and actually look at all the connected devices on the network. And it can be an eye-opener for some people because they don't realize you buy that new TV from JB, you get it home, you run through the 5-step setup process, and it's connected to the internet and it's starting to do its thing. And before you know it, you've got the the lights, then the toaster, then the everything's all connected back. So, and then people sit back and wonder why they might keep going network. Doing a simple thing search can kind of give an idea of just how much relying on that network side. But I think takeaway for me is I'm going to go out and lift my my router. I never thought of the 4 feet off the ground, and again I'm in the game, and I've never given that a go. So I might have to try that myself and see. Yeah.
Well,
what about you? You've been leaning a lot on Fletch, of late.
Say that again, Chris.
I know you've been leaning a lot on Fletch of late.
Yes, I was going to say, I had, obviously I've been doing more web-based sessions, and actually the network's been really good. There was only one time where the upload speed was so bad that I had to bail from that meeting and schedule it to the next day, and that's when Fletch jumped in and started giving me these tips. But one he didn't share. Is he still in the waiting room backstage? Is he still with us backstage? Yeah. Yeah. But one thing he shared with me, which was, I'm in an nice apartment. It's very light, but I have 2 windows kind of close to each other. And so it was even something as simple as the positioning near the windows, and also are those windows tinted. Remember that, Fletch? So we had a good banter the other day, and Fletch was giving me just really quirky things. And I don't know, it was a combination. Certainly I went cable, and now it's become my lucky cable. So for this one recurring client meeting, I don't risk Wi-Fi. I just go for cable for that one. I'm fine on all the rest, but for that one client meeting, don't want to risk it again. So yeah, Fletch, I have called you. Thanks again, mate, for all the help you've been given lately, just to keep me streamlined. And Ellie too, of course, Ellie and Fletch.
One final point I'd make too, while Fletch is still there, and this is more of a throw out to all of those businesses out there who are in the service industry. Speaking to a lot of people who just get concerned around their relevance in a new world market. Are they still going to be relevant? Is expertise still needed in these areas? And I think, a few discussion points there from Fletch, kind of highlights that you don't need anyone until you do. And when you do, you want somewhere where you can phone and say, something's going on, what do I do about this? And knowing where that sits in a market now, where yes, you can do so much yourself, and people can go ahead, set up their own network, start to play around with it, but invariably they're going to run across trouble. And I think this is the new opportunity for service industry to really capitalize on that, again, hybrid of DIY, bespoke custom service, and then that service piece that sits in the middle. Have you found that with the work that you're doing?
What was that? Sorry.
Have you found that people come to you when they're in trouble, like Mark?
Look, probably, with the information, things like with the window and stuff like that. At the end of the day, if you reflect on it, that's information that I've gained over 15 years of being in telco, 12 of it being a technician, and just weird and wonderful things that you run into when your back's against the wall and you got really no idea what the cause is. You just move it and then realize, hang on a second, maybe this is the cause. So I might just add, everything I've said, it's got no scientific backing whatsoever. It's just been through sheer experience.
I love that. The Fletch disclaimer.
These things have just worked for me.
So let me dive in and say, because this is a point to that, right? Though you've built that knowledge. You just said it yourself. This is 15 years to 12 years. This is the point, right? As yes, I can Google stuff. I managed to wipe a hard drive and lose it completely off one of my MacBooks trying to reset it back up. And I managed to Google and find to get it back. It took me a bloody long time. And yes, you can figure out things to do for yourself, but there's nothing beats actual experience. And that's to your point, Chris, is that no, people are not irrelevant. You create different experiences in store. You add value in different ways. But one way that you completely still add value is by remaining ahead of the game as a special artist in your field, in your craft. Because, and that's even the task of selling, right? I mean, sales models have changed, and they've had to, because the sales cycle got caught and cut so short. Clients can Google information, they can Google competition, they can find all the pricing, Google specs. So their first conversation often is, I know how much it is, what's the best you can do? In other words, they're fast forwarding to the end of a sales cycle. And so it's your knowledge that untangles them to bring them back to the start, to really take them on that value discovery piece. Otherwise, you're just battling a price comparison game. You're never going to win in that. So the art here is to just keep being a master at your craft and keep adding enormous value in all different ways, Chris. I think it's a good point that you raised, and certainly something that the guys have been doing this week, consciously or not.
Fletch, I'm going to drop you off again so you can enjoy your single malt, and just close out with Mark, because I just saw the time as well. Thanks again.
Yes. Thanks, Fletch. Enjoy your whiskey. Thanks for joining us. So, Mr. Hall, you got a couple of takeouts. I love the fact that you're in the game and you're going to be sneaking around and lifting that modem up.
I'm going to be standing there, kind of angelic like, holding it with my little busted ankle and getting my son to do a speed test. Yeah.
You're going to look like an Art Deco statue, leaning back, holding the modem like this. Just do us all a favor and don't bugger up your ankle again while you're doing that, mate. Whatever you do, just do it gingerly. Do it gingerly.
No, that was really interesting. And I think, the stuff that we know is going on, that higher demand now for internet, everyone kind of scoffed at that vision around the NBN and the reason why we needed it. And, why do you need speeds that quick? And we're kind of looking at it now, and people are just demanding more and more and more. And I think that's the thing, is that the network, it's got to a point where technology is actually surpassing the network itself. So we need to catch up pace with that. That's why I'm very surprised people are using mobile networks in their home. But each to their own. Yeah.
Me too. So we've, as we said when we opened that discussion, there's quite a bit to cover in tech, but there's some few more different insights to do with tech efficiencies and just getting set up. We're definitely going to be coming back to a couple more different tech sessions that have got a very different purpose as well. But we are going to interweave some of those other topics as well. So we'll look for our next guest over the coming weeks. Chris, but thank you for hosting in spite of your ankle pain. Being a bit tipsy on your painkillers. Enjoy your whiskey. Enjoy your reprise. Enjoy the rest of your wee dabble of whiskey tonight.
You've given me a hankering for sarsaparilla now. I don't think I've had that since I was 12 years old. So.
I know, I hadn't had it. Yeah, same. I just thought, let me try something different for tonight's one. A bit of sarsaparilla. There we go. All right, Chris Hall. Good to see you, mate. Cheers, Hawkman.
I'll see you on Sunday.
See you Sunday. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.